The Books of the Boble.
Holmes. We called him Holmes, as in Sherlock Holmes or John Holmes, though he was neither mentally nor physically endowed. He was a homeboy, but that is not why we called him Holmes either. This was 1978, many years before homie, homeboy, and its many variations would enter the vernacular. No, we called him Holmes because as far as we knew, that was his name, though no one could tell you whether it was his first or his last. About the only thing anyone could tell you about Holmes was that he was crazy, and he had done some crazy motherfucking shit. The first story I ever heard about Holmes came out of the mouth of a 6'2" ebony everyman named Conrad. Now, Conrad was my best friend. He was the one who would hook me up to the rhythms of the Sugar Hill Gang, Frankie Smith, songs like Double Dutch Bus, Give Me a Ho, If You Got Your Funky Bus Fare, Ho, Ho. Back when ho in a rap song didn't refer to a woman. Doing cigarette-sized doobies on his back porch, wrapping my mouth around words like ganja and Boble. Conrad introduced me to a whole new world. A world that was inhabited by, among other things, this crazy fucker named Holmes. Now, as it happens, I met Holmes and heard my first Holmes story at the very same time. You see, Conrad and I were sitting atop this scribble-scarred picnic table in the park near his house. Conrad had no more than lit up the joint and said, "Let me tell you this story about this crazy fucker named Holmes." When here, Holmes comes, making like a sand crab, doing this funky sand dance, all smiles, talking crazy shit. Shit so crazy, it would make your head just bob up and down, and it would make you smile, because you didn't know what else to fucking do. It didn't take a genius to figure out that this was the crazy fucker that Conrad was just about to tell me a story about. Now, at this point, most storytellers would stop, tuck the anecdote away for another time when the subject of the anecdote was not in such close proximity. But since the subject of this anecdote was Holmes, and since, as I would find out, Holmes rarely cared or understood much that went on around him, Conrad just kept on talking. Now, I didn't actually see this shit myself, he began, which is the way every story I would ever hear about Holmes would begin. Inevitably, the next line would be, "But so-and-so saw it and swears on his Jimmy it's true." Well, in Conrad's case, the Jimmy swearer was this sick fuck named Marcus, who said he had put money into a pool that was to be Holmes's reward for doing this crazy shit. Apparently, on a dare to get money for some pot or some alcohol, Holmes allegedly had sex with a dog. That's the story. Though Conrad's version was much more detailed and disgusting. When he finished his story, Conrad took a huge toke off the joint and passed it to the still dancing Holmes, who accepted the gift without any indication or confirmation of the story that had just been told about him. Holmes drew long and hard on the joint, leaving his sloppy lippage hanging like an elephant's tear from the end, then turned to me talking about, "Do I want to hit it?" Shit. Of course I wanted to hit it. In the next 3 years that it would take me and Conrad to graduate from high school, I would hear all kinds of messed up Holmes stories. Everything from his kooky escapades with the cops to stupid shit he did for money to get alcohol or pot. Even theories on how he got to be the way he was. That was a big one. Everyone seemed to have their own ideas. Some said he was born that way. Others told stories of severe child abuse, severe drug abuse, mild satanic rituals. I remember one kid said he thought Holmes was one of those released mental patients we all read about in high school sociology class. I don't know what I thought. I only knew that I had known Holmes for quite some time now, and although it was clear he was mental, I didn't think he was capable of doing some of the crazy shit that everyone said he did. I mean, to me, Holmes seemed harmless. Kind of like Boo Radley from To Kill a Mockingbird. You know, someone whose reputation is bigger than their reality. Of course, at the time, I did not know that I would soon be telling my own Holmes story. My story does not begin, I did not actually see the shit. Because I saw the shit. And I will swear on the Pope's motherfucking Jimmy that it is true. Started out innocently enough. I was on my way to junior achievement, where I was president of a company called the Triveters. We made trivets and sold them to people stupid enough to buy trivets, especially trivets made by a bunch of stoned high school students who wouldn't know how to make trivets if the instructions for making trivets were tattooed on their asses. Anyway, here I was, hiking down the road when here Holmes comes. All jivey, jabber-jawing about some huge joint he wants to smoke. And I'm thinking, trivets, huge joint. Trivets, huge joint. Huge joint. The next thing I know, I'm in some house that Holmes says is his parents' house. Now, to be honest, I'd never really thought about where Holmes had lived. As far as I knew, Holmes was homeless. So imagine my surprise to find out that he had a home. Hell, that he had parents. Wow. Because it was his parents' house, Holmes said that we would have to go into the utility closet to smoke the joint. Now, for anyone who has ever gotten high in their own parents' apartment, you know that that is not that odd a request. I should have known something was up, however, by Holmes's use of the word utility. Not that Holmes was illiterate or anything, just that Holmes rarely spoke, and when he did, utility is not what he usually said. The real bad news came about 3 seconds later, when Holmes closed the door, and we both heard the click that said that motherfucker just locked. Panic does not describe what happened in the next few moments. Honestly, I can't tell you what describes what happened in the next few moments. Suffice to say, at the end of those next few moments, Holmes's hand was bleeding from having broken a mirror at the back of the closet. When he pulled out his penis and started peeing on his bloody hand, let's just say I was shocked. Frightened, also a very good word. Here I was, locked in a 6x6 closet with a madman whose thought processes worked in such a way that they could input the information, bloody hand, and output the solution, pee on it. What dendrites had to connect, what synapses that had to go together to make that shit happen. Not wanting to ponder deep neurological questions, I instead grabbed a piece of wood. I think it was the arm of a chair, and I started pounding at that door with more energy than I had expanded in my entire life. All the while, Holmes is wailing and doing something in the background. To this day, I do not know what. Frankly, when he pulled out his penis, he lost my attention. And that is not something I say often. Eventually, I chopped a large enough hole in the door to snake my arm through, unlock the door, quickly smoke the joint with Holmes, and then run like Richard Pryor on fucking fire all the way to junior achievement, where the prospect of making products from wood never seemed more enticing. I don't know what all this means. Even after that story, I still didn't believe half the things I heard about Holmes. And years later, sweating smoke and whiskey, wrestling a headache on a Soho balcony, and hearing through the throbs some blob say that urinating on a wound is a universally accepted survival technique, I would epiphanize, as only the right combination of alcohol and pain will allow, that maybe Holmes was a lot smarter than any of us gave him credit for. Not that we would have cared. None of us even bothered to find out if Holmes was his first or his last name. None of us wanted to know Holmes. We wanted to imagine Holmes. We wanted to make his story bigger than his life. I guess I still do.